Hey there, Christopher here. I put together two prototypes, two different mockups, variations, iterations of the chapter 4, as we discussed last week. So at the very top, you can see the previous version we had. That's what we started our discussion from. And that's from there we decided we need to change how this scripting challenge works. But I kept the previous one in here for reference, and also because it provides a nice linear flow. I'll just go over that real quick. So we enter chapter 4 here from the chapters page. We have a bit of an intro that we're going to withdraw these Bitcoin now. Then it talks a little bit about key pairs. Then it introduces elliptic curve cryptography briefly. And then we actually start getting into the coding challenge. So first, we need to multiply our private keys. We need to get our private key from our account, multiply it with a generator point. So we're going to do that. Then we find out whether it's even or uneven. Then we combine the two values. Then we have, this was kind of in the original lesson content, but I think we'll remove it. That's just, it explains hashing, but since we already covered it in previous chapters, we can ditch this one. Then we do the double hashing. Then, first we do the SHA, then we do the RIP, EMD, whatever. Then we do the checksum. We explain what a checksum is. This is a little bit of another explainer, which I'm not sure we need. Now we're going to do the write and then code for that. Then we do something else. And we do some base 58 encoding. We have it. Like, I don't understand some of this stuff here. And then, we're done. So I think there's a little bit of a transition missing that to just let people know, give them the sensation that like, wow, you have your address now. This is it. So cool. Crypto magic happened here. But anyways, this is not the... so there's some stuff to smooth out, but I think we should do that after we figure out our interaction model here. And that's what I'm getting to now. So as we discussed, there are two different interaction models. First one is where we basically start with this empty script here with just one line, and on the left we always have these explainers that tell us what to do, sometimes with a little bit with more tips, and sometimes just text and not even any code snippets that we can use where we have to figure it ourselves. And then as we go on, we keep running the same code here, we just keep adding to it and modifying it a bit. So this is the final code here. Was it 21 lines? So like I said, we start with nothing, we just keep modifying this, and then we keep running it as we add on to it. And the second version is based on this template here. So I'll skip out of this here real quick. So here's the empty version of the template. So we basically have this private key to address function, which has 4 functions in it. Each of those functions is currently empty or has just some small snippet, and it has an explainer. And as we go through the challenge now, we fill in the functionality for these functions. So here's on the right hand side, you can see we add something like 8 lines of code total. Here we have 46 lines of code. On the right we have 54. So here we add this line, return private key times G, and so on. So that is, we start with a lot more, we understand the structure, and then we fill in the bits and pieces. And so very, very similar way. I start with something like this, which looks a lot more intimidating. On the other hand, it does give me, I understand kind of where we're going to go to, and after I understand this. And then, here I add this line of code, then I press run the script, and then if I did it correctly, it tells me, this is the result, good job, let's keep going. And then I go step by step through. So now I'd like to go through this as prototype. So if you're in Figma, you have this design and prototype tab on the top right. If you go to prototype, you see these little flows here that are indicated, and if you press the little icon, then you'll get a prototype like this. So let's go through the prototype for where we build the script little by little. So I can click anywhere on the screen in this prototype. I just kept it simple. So at the next step that I'm skipping to is when I have written my script. So I'm going to click, and you can see this is now, I filled in these 2 lines. I created this public key variable, and then I'm printing it. Now I'm going to press run the script here. and I get this evaluation. So this result is not accurate, I just pasted something in. The evaluation text should also be a little bit more helpful about what I actually just did, but that can be filled in. Then I press next, and so you can see I'm pretty much on the same screen again. My script stayed consistent on the right hand side. It's this evaluation box in the bottom right kind of returned to its default state, and the information on the left changed with my next step. So now I need to modify the script again. So I'm just going to click real quick to do that. A few more lines of code appeared, which I magically just wrote. Then I'm going to evaluate it again. Once again, I get it right because I'm so awesome. And then I go to the next one. So now we actually have a bit of an intermission where we tell you, good job, this is your compressed public key. We explain a few details, and then we go to the next thing. And now I'm not going to talk about this. I'll just, once again, you see code fills in, evaluate it, next one, code fills in, evaluate it, and I think that's kind of it. Okay, challenge is complete. All right, so you got a sense for how that works. Let's try the other one. So here is where we have the whole template filled in. It's a little bit harder to follow along with this prototype. When I press enter, this line of code here will update. I'm going to go back and forth a little bit. So you see, as a user, I had to figure out, this is the place where I need to fill things in. Of course, we're going to tell you that on the left. Then I press run the script. It tells me I did everything well. I press next. Everything stays consistent, kind of same interaction. Once again, I write some code here. I have it evaluate. Everything's great. Intermission again. Go to the next one. Enter some more code, and this, for some reason, it always bugs out on this particular screen. I don't know why. So I need to skip to the next one real quick. So here I've entered, I think, line 41. Evaluate it. Great. I'm going to fill in the hash to address function. Cool. Evaluate it. Okay, great. So as you can see here on the left-hand side, between Matthew and Stacy's script, there's a discrepancy. It doesn't do the... it's a different types of encoding, and I don't really get it. So this lesson text here will have to be written by someone who understands this stuff intuitively. So I just basically copied some of this these comments here to the left and turned it into a sentence. But that needs a whole bunch of work. So those are kind of the two different models that we discussed. I'm not going to say anything about my preferences, but please provide your input here. And once we have that, we can figure out which interaction model we want to go with, build your script step by step, or use the template, also considering maybe, if we already know, some future challenges that are coming up. I think then we can start refining that overall flow and the copy across the whole thing. But I think this is a pretty big thing to figure out, both from user experience and from the technical side, probably. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this was helpful.